So here is something I did not expect to find when I went down this rabbit hole. The most successful early adopters of any transformative business technology have almost never been the youngest people in the room. I'm Tom Morgan. This is the Wisdom Advantage Fun Facts. And Anna, did you know any of this?
I did not. And I feel like that one sentence already challenges about 3 things I assumed were true.
That is what this week is about. We talked about building an AI-first business mindset, and today we go sideways with it a bit. The history, the psychology, the surprising data around how people actually adopt tools that change how they work. And I promise at least one of these is going to surprise you.
All right, first fact. Let's go.
Let's start in 1955. A man named Herbert Simon, cognitive scientist, eventual Nobel laureate, described what he called bounded rationality, the idea that people do not make decisions by considering all available information. They make decisions by finding the first option that is good enough and stopping there. He called it satisficing.
Satisficing. As in satisfying plus sufficing.
Exactly. And here is why that matters for us today. When people use AI and get a result that is merely okay, they often stop and think, this tool is not good enough. But Simon's research tells us something different. They hit their satisfaction threshold and stopped experimenting.
That is sneaky, actually, because it feels like you tested the tool, but maybe you only tested the first draft.
Exactly right. The people who get transformative results from AI are the ones who keep going past the first adequate result. They are not smarter, they just do not stop at satisficing.
That reframes a lot of frustrating AI experiences. You weren't hitting a ceiling. You were just stopping too soon.
Yes, and that matters because people talk themselves out of the whole thing too early. They get one average answer, shrug, and decide AI is overhyped, or too limited, or not for them. No, what happened is simpler than that. They found something good enough and quit before the better result showed up.
Which is kind of encouraging, honestly, because that means the problem is not that you're too old or not technical enough. The problem might just be that you stopped at adequate.
That's it. And if you've spent years in business, or raising a family, or solving real problems in the real world, you already know that the first draft usually is not the final answer. Same idea here. AI is no different in that sense. You keep going, you refine, you push past the first acceptable outcome.
I like that because it takes some of the drama out of it. It is not magic, and it is not proof you failed. It is just part of the process.
Right, and it also starts to crack that bigger assumption, the one we opened with. The story we've been told is that younger people naturally win with new technology. But if the real advantage is knowing when to keep pushing for a better result, then experience starts looking a lot more valuable than people think.
So the surprise is not just who adopts the tools, it is why. And maybe why some people get more value out of them.
Now you're getting it.
Okay, so if chapter 1 is do not stop at the first decent result, what is the research that really changes the story?
This one genuinely surprised me. When personal computers became widely available in the 1980s, a Rand Corporation study tracked who adopted them most rapidly for business use. Not the youngest employees, the highest performers over 50.
Wait, that is the opposite of what everyone assumes about technology adoption.
Completely opposite. Researchers found that workers with more experience adopted computers faster because they could immediately see how the tool mapped onto existing expertise. They knew what problem it solved because they'd been living with that problem for decades.
That makes so much sense once you say it out loud. It is not really about being dazzled by the tool. It is about recognizing the bottleneck.
Exactly. The assumption is that younger people pick up new tools faster because they are more comfortable with technology. But what the data showed is that it was context that drove adoption speed, and experienced people had more context.
They knew what a good outcome looked like.
They knew what a good outcome looked like. They knew what was wasting their time. The technology just gave them a faster path to something they already understood.
So for someone who has been in business for 20 or 30 years, picking up AI might actually be easier than it is for someone just starting out.
That is exactly what the data suggests, which is the opposite of the story most people have told themselves. It is not about age. It is not about technical background. It is about whether you have enough experience to know what problem you're solving.
And if you do, then AI gives you a faster path to outcomes you can already picture.
That is an advantage, not a handicap.
All right, give me the one that really lands with people.
I think this does. A Pew Research study from 2023 found that adults over 55 who adopt AI tools for work report higher satisfaction with their work output than any other age group. Not because they use more tools, because they use fewer tools more deeply.
Oh, that is good. Younger users jumped between tools, didn't they?
That's right. Younger users tended to jump between tools. Older users picked one or two, learned them properly, and applied them to problems they already understood well. The result was faster time to value, fewer errors, and this was the part that stuck with me, a much stronger sense of ownership over the work. The AI was helping them do their work, not replacing it.
That feels like the whole episode in one finding. The experience is not the obstacle. The experience is the asset.
It does. So if any of this landed differently than you expected, that is probably worth sitting with. Your credibility, your experience, your problem-solving skills, your wisdom, they are your unfair advantages.
This one gave me a lot to think about, and honestly, a lot less fear than I started with.
Good. That's the point. We'll keep going next time, Anna.
See you next week.
See you then.